Wow, what an investment into South Africa, right? So in 2020, just to bring everyone onto the same page, yeah, in 2020, PepsiCo made an investment or an acquisition of the Pioneer Foods Group through its South African subsidiary Simba. And if I'm not mistaken, Bridget, this was one of PepsiCo's largest acquisitions outside of the US, which is saying something, right? So actually, what was the rationale behind PepsiCo's decision to invest in the food industry in South Africa?
Yes, thanks, Roger. Indeed, it was one of our largest acquisitions outside of the US. PepsiCo first entered South Africa in 1999, actually with the acquisition of Simba. And since then, our operations have really reflected a strong commitment to South Africa, its people, our communities, and to the South African economy. We've steadily expanded our portfolio of food and beverage brands. As you can see on the screen, it's quite a lot of well-known brands, from beverages to cereals, to dried fruit and raisins, to breads, rice, legumes, pasta, and then your snacks, and even some spreads in terms of Marmite. So we have steadily expanded, as I've said, these brands, supporting and investing in South Africa and its resources through mutually beneficial relationship with all of those in PepsiCo's value chain, both upstream and downstream. We're quite confident about the long-term future of South Africa and is committed to playing a constructive role, especially with government, on our journey to reignite inclusive economic growth. We employ about 12,500 employees. We've committed to maintain employment levels for 5 years and to create additional 500 jobs during the same periods as economic conditions allow. One of the main attractions to PepsiCo in acquiring Pioneer was the high quality of talent and local know-how at all levels in the organization. And we committed to retaining the talented workforce to help enable our success. And we believe that the employees of both companies, so both Simba and Pioneer, have now got together to form PepsiCo Sub-Saharan Africa, will benefit from increased opportunities in a bigger global entity. If I may say so, in the Pioneer Food Group company, actually, we have found a like-minded company with a shared commitment to serving the people of South Africa by providing food and beverage products while driving inclusive growth for employees, our suppliers, consumers, customers, and the community at large. So we are really quite excited about our investment, and we look forward to further growth in South Africa and into Sub-Saharan Africa.
Wow, Bridget, that's a great story, man. And I'm just looking at these wonderful brands that you had on the screen. You know, I mean, I relate to a lot of them, particularly Marmite, which we all grew up with, I think. You know, so you mentioned branding. And and PepsiCo does play a key role in manufacturing and providing sort of high quality food products and branded products and making them accessible to a wide range of customers and consumers. Do you see this acquisition that you've made as a base for further expansion and growth in the brands, both within South Africa and into the wider Sub-Saharan Africa?
Yes, definitely, Roger. Under the terms of the acquisition, we committed to invest at least 5.5 billion Rand over 5 years in order to achieve our vision of a thriving business in South Africa, and most importantly, actually, an export center to the rest of Africa. So we see South Africa as a key agriculture hub in terms of our global value chain focus. And our investments will include a wide range, from modernizing and increasing production capabilities, adding routes and distribution capabilities, investment in social initiatives. And I was very excited by the previous speaker talking about climate change and crops and new crops. So for us, that is quite important. Innovation in regenerative agriculture is what we look forward to. So sustainable agriculture.
Wow, and I mean, expanding products into other parts of Africa and the world, either through existing channels such as formal retailers who are present there, or alternatively new people that come and buy your products and experience your brands, in those markets for the first time. So, as a major global player, I mean, we're a year down the track, right? So how's it been going since that 1 year? And, in terms of your merger commitments and strategic plans, and I think also, your view on further investments or partnerships into the food industry in South Africa.
As they say, Roger, a journey starts with one step, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes you take 2 steps forward, 3 steps backward. So this has been a learning journey for us, being one of our biggest acquisitions. But we remain committed to our South Africa and Sub-Saharan Africa journey and investment. The continent, I believe, has immense potential for further growth and development. We have a young demographic dividend to build on in terms of future-based skills. Most other economies are aging. And then, as the minister spoke about the African Continental Free Trade Agreement, we really believe that the objectives of that agreement to create a single common market for goods and services, to reduce tariff and non-tariff barriers, to promote industrial development on the continent, as well as sustainable and inclusive socioeconomic growth, are good precursors to support inclusive agriculture value chains across business, supportive and supported by harmonized policy environments. With the African Continental Free Trade Agreement in effect, we hope to see more strengthened and resilient supply chains. Such supply chains will definitely enhance productivity across the continent and is critical for business stakeholders and governments to continue to work together on the promotion of regional integration. And we think South Africa is ideally poised and positioned to focus on this. Just as a reminder, and I think our first speaker spoke about South Africa's agriculture sector, but I just wanted to note that our sector is export-oriented, with roughly 49% of the agriculture export products in value terms being exported. And the South African agriculture economy has more than doubled in volume and production since 1994. So overall, it's important to mention that we are a growing industry with a great potential for growth in South Africa from primary level to agro-processing. And in addition, we have underutilized land, which is crucial for our development. And then we spoke briefly, one of the speakers spoke briefly about the agriculture and agro-processing master plan, which is a social compact to a development approach between business, government, and labor. I think that's an excellent PPP to drive and foster inclusive growth and aligns with the NDP of the South African government. What we have to remember, though, is that there are preconditions to reach these dreams of ours in this country. We need a stable and conducive policy and investment environment. We need comprehensive, sufficient and predictable infrastructure and services. We need comprehensive and effective farmer support programs. We have more smallholder farmers in number than we have big commercial farmers. And just imagine if we could only scale 10% of them to double their size, we would be a force to reckon with as a country. So even though we do have some infrastructure challenges, I feel investors can still find value in RSA agriculture and the food industry. But what I wanted to touch on, that is my view, that this is like an absolute growth pivot point for us as a country and for investors, given that we've doubled in growth since 1994. But what I also wanted to reflect on is on organizations who wish to invest here and the public interest commitments in terms of our Competition Act post a merger or acquisition. So I just wanted to share some of our thoughts and our journey on our public interest commitments. So we honored to have these commitments because they're part of our merger conditions. So the first part is that we've pledged, and I just want to move my slide, if it will let me do that. There we go. So we have pledged the Basumi Workers Trust and employee share ownership plan in terms of Black economic empowerment. And some of the speakers were referring to the need for broad-based Black economic empowerment, not only in the country, but specifically in agriculture. And this ownership plan, which is unencumbered, so that means that our workers will have rights and will have dividends and will have cash flow in hand as soon as everything is finalized, which is within the next 2 to 3 months. But this was a 1.655 billion employee share ownership scheme, which is real and guaranteed value rather than a notional paper exercise value. Then the second part of our public interest commitment is a development fund, which as part of the acquisition of Pioneer Foods, we agreed to, and it's around driving equitable growth in agriculture. So it's a 600 million Rand, which is about $40 million fund called the Godiso Fund. And it's aligned to the UN Sustainable Development Goals, the SDGs. We've mapped our SDGs as a country, and now we've mapped it for PepsiCo, and then also aligned to the 2030 NDP. So the fund will actually allocate 300 million to agriculture development to assist small emerging Black farmers to upscale capabilities and to ensure that they're provided with opportunities to integrate into the value chain. 200 million will be for supporting education to enable initiatives that provide training, upskilling, whether it is in terms of 4IR, on AI, sustainable agriculture, and we've already implemented. So we have about 40 young people in our organization at the moment on a graduate training program. So, you know, that time post-university, George, where everyone, Roger, where everyone says you need experience. We are providing experience straight out of university or Technicon students, and then a future leader programs for those with 3 to 5 years experience to enter the workplace. And then 100 million, very importantly, we spoke about innovation in agriculture, to SMEs to provide incubation and technology support in terms of agriculture, innovation, and sustainability. So that's our real journey to date, and it's quite an exciting journey we've been on.
I mean, wow, what an investment and commitment, not only to bringing us the best and most loved food brands, but also to the economy, the industry, and you mentioned the word young dividend. You know, the young dividend in terms of the Smart Brains Trust, and firstly, they make a great consumer market, so they consume some of the products you make. But just your talk around fourth industrial revolution, innovation, very, very critical in terms of the growth of the industry. So Bridgitte, we've run out of time. I want to just thank you so much for a great presentation. It is really exciting to see a company of the stature of PepsiCo investing in South Africa and also being committed to the growth and development of the industry and the young dividend and peoples of South Africa. So thanks very much for that.
Thank you, Roger.